Hi guys, so today we're going to talk about poverty in astrology and what are certain situations that creates poverty in astrology. I mean, everybody talks about wealth, everybody talks about success and happiness. Let's tap into the dark world and this is important, so this way you're able to see it yourself. What are the reasons for me to live below poverty line, as most of people are living, in the world? So in astrology, the main thing, not the main thing, as in the most important factor that creates poverty, whether temporary or permanent, it first of all is dependent upon the moon. The moon, how the moon is situated creates your ambience, your lifestyle, things around you. So if your moon is badly placed, and remember, moon is about your mind, the way you think, the way you feel about things. So if your mind is damaged, you will not know right from wrong. You will always make bad choices that will take you into poverty. You will make bad investment choices. You will make bad relationship choices. So when you get divorced, your wife takes everything. So in astrology, one combination that creates, and I'm going to clear this misconception too about this part, that in astrology, when your moon is sitting alone in your horoscope, so in your horoscope you have 12 houses, okay? Just like 12 zodiac signs. So in your horoscope, if the moon is situated in the 10th house, and there's no planets in the 11th house or the 9th house, so if there's 9, 10, 11. So you see there are two houses right next to the 10th house. And let's say moon is sitting in the 10th house. Now if there's no planet sitting here in the 11th house or in the 9th house where the moon is sitting, that creates poverty yoga, where moon does not have the support, okay? He does not have the support to build what the moon wanted to build, and he doesn't have the network support to give him what he wants in life. So the house before where the moon is sitting, whether it could be any houses, I'm just saying the 10th house as an example. So if moon doesn't have any planets in the 9th house, that means your mind does not have a support. It doesn't have the structure, so you can be structured in your life. Like, how your parents teach you, okay, go to school, go to college, do this degree, okay, because I did this, so I'm successful, do this. When you don't have that, you really do not have direction in life. But when there's no planet in the next house, that means you do not have any resources or networks to get wealth. Because you know how wealth is created from a network. You have to know certain people, you have to, go out and mingle and do all these things to get wealth. So if you do not have that, then it hurts your network. But if you have one of these two, so let's say if you have the backing, of your family or of your gurus or of anybody who has nurtured you, you can still progress, okay? Or if the moon doesn't have anybody in the 9th house, and yet the moon has a planet in the 11th house which is supporting him, that means even though he might have grown up in poverty or without any direction, due to the sources of other people, he was able to get his or her life on track. But here's a misconception though, okay, about this combination. And the name of this combination, when moon doesn't have any support in the house 12th through to where it's sitting, or the second to where it's sitting, it's called Kemdrum Dosh, okay? And it's by far, if you ask me, this is probably one of the deadliest combinations to have, even compared to like Kalsarp or anything else, because all these things doesn't really exist or affect you. But one big misconception about Kemdrum Dosh is that it does not affect your entire life. Okay, Kemdrum Dosh. So let's say, and this meaning that if your moon is sitting alone, and also if there's a planet in conjunction with the moon in the same house, that cancels this whole poverty notion. Okay, so if your moon is in the 10th house with Venus or Mercury or any other planet besides the sun, okay, and there's no planet on the 9th house or 11th house, that too nullifies and kills this combination. But let's say if you have moon in the 10th house, sun in the 9th house, or sun is in the 12th house, or sun in conjunction with the moon, that also is not considered. That too is still that poverty yoga, because sun is not considered as a planet that can support moon, because it's just, you know, one of those original scriptures that were written that way, you know. But here's the myth, though, that this particular combination affects your entire life. It doesn't. It affects your youth. Okay, so when you were young and you have this combination, you were a loner. You didn't have support from your parents. You didn't have that, you know, that enthusiasm about school or about doing things in your life. Your friends hated you. You could never make friends. So what this creates, it creates a person with a very troubled mind. Okay, and I'm not saying every single time this is going to happen. So even if your moon is alone, you might be flourishing because there's other factors that go into it. But I'm discussing this one factor. So so this combination of moon being alone, which is supposed to create poverty, it only affects the youth. Okay, because moon represents your youth up to the age of 18 or 15. Okay, after that, other planets come into play. Okay, so this, if you have this combination where your moon is sitting alone, do not worry about it, because you know why? Michael Jackson had this combination and he died as a billionaire. And please do not listen to any mainstream media saying he was in debt for $300 million. This is just hogwash stuff, because this guy still owned, the day he died, he owned Sony 30% of it. And you know, in mainstream media, they just glorified his debt, like, you know, he's living under poverty. He died when he was paying $100,000 a month to a mansion. So you can see, you know, Michael Jackson, being the ultimate human being in this planet, the most well-known human being, had this yoga. Yes, his childhood was bad, and we all know that. Okay, but guess what? He still came out as a multi-billionaire. His wealth might have decreased, but you know, he got the Beatles rights and all of these things, and he made all these deals with Sony. He was getting money. He was fine. Okay, but let's talk about other things that can create poverty in astrology. Now, other things that you can look at that can define, you know, poverty in somebody's life, or somebody living really struggling in their life, is when Rahu is either in the 2nd house, or Rahu is in the 5th house, or Rahu is in the 9th house. Because Rahu has an aspect of, and Rahu means north node of the moon, which is also considered in the Western astrology. So when Rahu is sitting in the 2nd house of wealth, it's aspecting the 6th house and the 10th house, because it looks at the 1st, 5th, and 9th place from itself. Okay, so whenever you have this combination, okay, and you do not know about astrology as much, or you never really looked at it, what Rahu in the 2nd house does, it makes a person change jobs like no other. Okay, so if you work at jobs for 3 months, gotten fired, worked for 5 months, gotten laid off, and you have like literally 30-40 jobs on your resume, if you were to really be, you know, looking at all the jobs you've had since you were 18, the most likely the reason is that you have Rahu in the 2nd house, who doesn't really show poverty. Again, doesn't really show poverty. Is trying to show you that do not work for someone else, work for yourself. But because people do not know this about, you know, about astrology and how powerful it is, or, you know, it can be worked in your favor, not necessarily powerful, but it can be worked in your favor, is that when you see this combination, while your parents and people around you are saying, oh, go get a college degree, go and do work in a company and, you know, excel just like, you know, your siblings and friends are doing and all that, why don't you do that? And you do that. You follow your parents' advice, you do that, but then you never stay at a job. And that's why you never have money saved up. Why? Because you're not doing what the 2nd house wants you to do. The 2nd one wants you to do business. Once you do your own business, that's when you will prevail. As a person who is above the poverty line, is able to afford his home, is able to afford a decent car, women want to be with you, all these things, okay? And once Rahu is in the 2nd house, till the age of 32, you will feel that. Remember on my video yesterday when I talked about how people get early and late success in life. This is pretty much a detailed analysis of that. So nobody's in poverty for the rest of their lives, and poverty meaning you being able to put food and you being able to put clothes and roof over your head, because everybody has different meaning of success. Somebody's is making $1 million a year. Somebody's is about making $30,000 a year. If you can feel satisfied and happy in that scenario, that means you are not being affected by poverty. So remember, these things have very different meanings too about this. And I know you're going to go into this whole Africa and North Korea and all these third world countries that, how come people are living in poverty all their lives, and that really depends on the nation's astrological vibration itself. So if you're sitting in a bad, shitty pond, yet you're wearing the top-notch, scuba diving gear, you're still going to get dirty. That's what this whole thing signifies, okay? And one of the most common sense things to realize, study, and observe in an astrological chart is your 2nd and 11th house, okay? 2nd is your savings, 2nd house is your savings, and 11th house is your incoming gains, okay? So 2nd house shows if you're able to save money or not. 11th house shows how much gain will you have, how much money will you actually gain, how much liquid wealth will you attain. So besides looking at the moon, looking at the sun, looking at the north node where it's sitting, you have, because north node is a good thing in the 2nd house because it can give huge amounts of gains, but it does it in a business, in the business world, not in the job world. So if you have this, most likely you would feel like, I need to do job, I need to do business, yet everybody around you just forces you to do a job, or you do not have the funds to start a business. So, but remember, whoever's, if you want to be successful in life and you want to do it in the business world, how much capital it requires to start with if you're really serious about business? Zero. What it requires is just this, how to use this. I started my books and novels and all my website and three other business, my photography business, everything from zero capital. Okay, I built and built and built and built. So so you look at the 2nd and the 11th house, and another combination I'll tell you is when sun and moon are together. When sun and moon are together in conjunction in one house, what's happening is in the sky it's creating a no moon. So the sky is blank because it's like that. It's called no moon cycle. So what it does is that moon has water, and Vedic people knew this 5,000 years ago. Sun is fire. Obviously, we know that. So when these two collide, and they're good friends, they're the best friends. But why is it that they don't match? Because sun is fire, moon is water. So moon throws its water on sun, and then what happens to moon? Moon's water evaporates because as soon as it comes in contact with fire, even though it burns it evaporates. So it's kind of like a back and forth fight among them each other. So what it does, if they're sitting in your 2nd or 11th house, they're damaging that house. Okay. Another thing to look at is the condition of your dasha. What dasha you're going to, the planetary period. If you're going through a planetary period which is situated in a very bad position, even though you might have good 11th or 2nd house, that too creates that condition of you're struggling money-wise. Okay, so anyway, if you want to know more about this stuff, check out the link below. It'll enlighten you about true astrology, and definitely subscribe above because I'll be giving you more magic in future. Thank you.